Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling something that I know keeps a lot of network engineers and system admins up at night. We're really breaking down the Cisco Webex Contact Center exam.
Oh, yeah, specifically the 30830.
Right. Exactly, the 30830, which
For
is
designing and implementing Cisco Webex Contact Center exam, it's a bit of a mouthful, honestly.
it really is. And usually when we talk about certification prep, the conversation just sort of defaults to here's a list of acronyms, memorize them, and hope for the best.
Right, the old flashcard method.
Yeah, but looking at the source material for this, the practice questions, the architecture docs, it feels like there's a much stronger narrative here. I mean, this isn't just a vocabulary test, is it?
No, not at all. It feels more like a blueprint for how a modern hybrid contact center is actually supposed to function.
Right.
And that's really the only way to approach this exam. If you go in trying to just, memorize flashcards, you're likely going to struggle.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
The 30830 is designed to test if you truly understand the life cycle of a call. From the moment it hits the network edge to the absolute moment an agent resolves the issue.
So it's about the flow.
Exactly. If you understand the architecture, the answers clarify themselves. If you don't, the distractors will absolutely eat you alive.
Well, that's our mission for this deep dive. We're focusing heavily on the actual exam questions and answers today. We are going to treat this like game film.
I like that, game film.
Yeah, we've got a stack of specific scenarios and questions pulled right from the exam source material, and we aren't just going to read the answer key to you.
Right. That wouldn't be very helpful.
We're going to unpack the logic behind the right answers and honestly dissect why the wrong answers are wrong, because I think that's where the real learning happens.
Precisely. You really need to know why the trap answers are traps.
So before we get into the specific questions, let's set the stakes. Based on the exam specifications, what exactly are you walking into on test day?
Well, you're walking into a sprint. You have exactly 90 minutes on the clock.
Wow, 90 minutes.
Yeah, and you're looking at roughly 55 to 65 questions. That breaks down to, about a minute and a half per item.
That is fast.
It is. And the passing score is high, usually hovering around 750 to 850 out of 1,000, depending on the specific scaling of your version.
So there is absolutely no time to just sit there and debate with yourself. You need to recognize the scenario and apply the logic immediately.
Right. And to make it even more complex, it's not just your standard multiple choice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you will see drag and drop scenarios and even performance-based lab items. They want to see if you can actually drive the car, not just identify the parts in a manual.
Got it. Okay, let's get into the actual content. We've organized these test questions into 4 main buckets to kind of help structure the thinking.
Sounds good.
We're starting with the immediate pressure of operations, so monitoring and quality. This is the day 2 stuff. Everything is built, but is it actually working?
A classic starting point for admins.
Right. So there's a very specific scenario in the exam that trips people up constantly. Let's say you're the administrator. It's a Tuesday morning. Call volume is just spiking through the roof.
A nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare. And you need to decide right this second if you need to pull more staff into the queue. The exam asks, which tool provides this data?
Ah, yes.
And the options usually lean heavily on historical dashboards versus real-time reports.
This is what I call the executive versus operator trap.
Oh, I like that. Break that down.
Well, a lot of people choose historical dashboards because in the corporate world, the word dashboard sounds like the place where big decisions happen.
Right. It sounds strategic. It implies charts and trends and boardrooms.
Exactly. We are so conditioned to think big decisions happen on dashboards, but look at the constraints of the question you just laid out.
Right this second.
Yes. You said current status, and right this second. Historical dashboards are basically looking in the rearview mirror. They are fantastic for analyzing why you missed your service level agreement last week.
Or even earlier this morning, right? Sure, even earlier this morning. But they are aggregated data. If you need to make a tactical decision like who is logged in, who is idle, who is on break right now, you absolutely need real-time reports.
Okay, so the heuristic for the exam here is, if the decision is tactical and immediate, the answer is real-time reports. If the decision is strategic or trend-based, it's historical.
Correct. Don't get seduced by the word dashboard just because it sounds important.
That's a great tip. All right, sticking with this theme of quality, the exam digs into the reality of the modern workforce, which means remote agents.
Oh yeah, work from home is everywhere in this exam.
Exactly. So we have agents working from home, and the complaint is poor voice quality. The scenario mentions things like a robotic voice or choppy audio. The exam asks you to pinpoint the critical network factor to investigate.
And this question filters out the software people from the networking people pretty quickly.
I bet. The distractors here are things like monitor resolution or report export size, which, might make the agent's life super annoying, but they won't make their voice sound like a robot.
Right. So the real battle in the answer choice is usually between latency and jitter. Most people know latency is lag, but the exam wants you to flag network jitter. Why is jitter the specific villain here compared to just high latency?
Think about how voice over IP works. It chops your voice into tiny little packets and sends them over the internet.
Okay.
Latency is just how long those packets take to arrive. If they are all 200 milliseconds late, the human ear can actually adjust to that pretty well.
Oh, like a satellite news interview.
Exactly like that. It's a delay, but it is a consistent delay.
We can kind of talk over it if we have to.
Right. But jitter is the variance in that arrival time. So packet A takes 10 milliseconds, packet B takes 50, packet C takes 20.
Oh, so they're all out of order.
Well, the system just can't reassemble the stream smoothly because the pieces aren't arriving in a predictable rhythm. That is what causes that robotic, choppy, dropped syllable sound.
Okay, so purely for the exam context. If the scenario describes choppy or robotic audio, especially with remote workers, you are looking for jitter.
Yes, you want that jitter value as close to 0 as possible. High latency is bad, sure, but high jitter is completely unusable for voice.
Makes total sense. Let's move to our second bucket. We're calling this building the hybrid bridge. This covers architecture and security. This is where the 300/830 gets a little more hardware heavy.
The nuts and bolts of the infrastructure.
Yeah. So the scenario here is a hybrid telephony model. A company wants some calls to stay on-premise, maybe they have a legacy contract or strict compliance needs, and some calls to move to the Webex cloud. The exam asks for the two mandatory components to make this architecture work.
Mandatory is the key word there. You can add a lot of bells and whistles, but you cannot build the bridge without two very specific pillars.
The options usually throw in things like AI licenses or digital channel flows. But the answer key points to the local gateway and the session border controller, or SBC.
Right. Think of it physically. The local gateway is the actual bridge. It physically connects your on-premise PSTN lines, so the copper wires or the fiber coming into your actual building, to the Webex cloud.
So without the gateway, there's just no road for the call to travel on.
None. You're completely isolated.
And the SBC, what does that do?
The SBC is the Border Patrol station. It sits right on that connection and manages the SIP signaling. It secures the traffic, handles the traversal across different networks, and ensures that bad actors can't just ride that bridge straight into your internal network.
So if the question asks for the structural requirements of hybrid, we just ignore the software features. It is purely connectivity, which is the gateway, plus security, which is the SBC.
Exactly. You can have a hybrid model without AI, but you simply cannot have a hybrid model without those two boxes.
Okay, speaking of security, there's another critical question in this section about integrating third-party applications. Say we are connecting a CRM, like Salesforce, into the contact center via an API. The exam asks for the standard method to secure this communication.
And please, for the love of IT, do not choose physical port security here. We are operating in the cloud.
Right. The correct answer is token-based authentication, and the exam often explicitly references OAuth. Why is this the gold standard for the exam?
It comes down to credential exposure. If you use basic authentication, which is just a username and password, you are sending those secret credentials back and forth with every single API call.
Which sounds risky.
It's incredibly risky. If that traffic is intercepted, the attacker has the keys to the kingdom. They can do anything that user can do.
So how does the token change the game?
I like to use the hotel key card analogy for this.
Oh, let's hear it.
When you check into a hotel, you prove who you are at the front desk. You show your ID. That is the initial authentication. The hotel then gives you a plastic key card.
Right.
That card lets you into your room and maybe the gym, but only for a specific amount of time. You aren't handing the door lock, your passport, or your driver's license every time you enter the room.
Oh, that makes total sense. The token is the key card. It validates the session without exposing the core identity secrets over and over again.
Exactly. It's efficient, it's secure, and it's easily revoked if it gets stolen. You just cancel the key card. That is why OAuth is always the answer for modern API security on this test.
All right, let's shift gears to the human interface. We've built the network, we've secured the bridge. Now we actually have to set up the agents who do the work.
And this is where the admin portal questions get really tricky because the terminology is so similar.
Yeah, there is a specific question about an agent who needs to handle both Voice calls and digital chat messages. The prompt asks which two configurations must be assigned to the user. The trap here seems to be confusing capability with permission.
That is exactly it. The exam offers you options like multimedia profile, agent role, desktop theme, and report subscription.
Desktop theme is obviously a throwaway distractor.
Right, but users get stuck on profile versus role. The correct answer is you need both the multimedia profile and the agent role.
Can you break down the distinction? Why isn't one enough?
Well, the multimedia profile is the technical capability. It basically tells the system, this user account is technically equipped to handle voice channels, chat channels, and email channels. It enables the plumbing for those media types.
But that doesn't actually let them work.
No, just because the pipes are connected doesn't mean you are allowed to turn the water on. The agent role is the administrative permission. It says, this user is allowed to log into the desktop and function as an agent.
So having a profile without a role is like having the app installed on your phone, but you don't have an account to log in with.
Precisely. You need the tool, which is the profile, and the key, which is the role.
Now, once they are logged in, we obviously care about what they see. There's a question about customizing the agent's screen. Maybe the company wants to add a specific third-party widget or just change where the chat window sits. The exam asks where you configure this.
And the instinct for so many admins is to go back to user role or user settings.
Right, because it feels like a user preference.
Yeah.
But that's wrong.
It is wrong. User roles are strictly for security and permissions, what you can access. The visual experience, what panels go where, how big the chat window is, the JSON layout of the screen, that is all defined in the desktop layout.
So the desktop layout completely decouples the UI from the user security settings.
Correct. You could have 50 agents with totally different security roles, but they are all using the exact same desktop layout. So remember, for the exam, permissions equal role, visuals equal desktop layout.
Moving into our final and probably most complex bucket, the brain to the operation. We were talking routing, flow, and AI.
This is where the logic lives. This is where you decide what actually happens to a call once it's in the system.
The exam asks a foundational question here. Which component is responsible for the visual design of interaction handling?
The key word there is visual.
The options usually include Control Hub, Analyzer, and Flow Designer.
Control Hub is the massive admin setting where you manage your users. Analyzer is purely for reporting. The answer is the Flow Designer. This is your canvas. It's where you literally drag and drop the logic blocks. Things like, if customer presses 1, go here. If time of day is after 5 p.m., route there.
And once you design that flow, you eventually have to dump the call into a queue. There is a question about the essential parameters for setting up a queue. It asks for 2 items that are absolutely non-negotiable.
To make a queue work, you really just need to answer 2 fundamental questions. Who is answering the phone, and how do we pick which one of them gets it?
So who is answering corresponds to the target agent group in the exam answers.
Correct. That is your pool of people. And how do we pick them is the routing strategy. Are we using longest available agent? Are we using skills-based routing? Without those 2 definitions, a queue is just a black hole.
Here's the one that I think is most relevant to the modern admin, and it's a huge focus in the exam's operational section. The scenario asks how you can test a new routing flow. Maybe a complex new menu structure without breaking the live phone lines that are currently taking calls.
Ah, yes. This is what I call the save your job feature.
The answer is flow versioning.
This is so critical. In the old days of telephony, you often had to make changes during maintenance windows at 2 a.m. because if you saved a change, it went live immediately.
High risk.
Extremely high risk. If you broke it, you took the entire center down. Flow versioning allows you to save a draft version of your flow. You can validate it, debug it, and sometimes simulate traffic through it, all while version 1.0 is still live and handling your actual customer traffic.
And you only hit publish when you know for a fact that version 1.1 works flawlessly.
Exactly. It separates the sandbox from production. It brings real software development discipline into the contact center.
Finally, we have to touch on AI. The exam includes specific questions on virtual agents. We hear AI and we just think magic, but the exam wants specific functional definitions. It asks what 2 core capabilities a virtual agent brings to the table.
The distractors here will be things like hardware maintenance or desktop customization, things AI obviously doesn't do.
The correct answer pair is natural language understanding, or NLU, and automated self-service.
And it is so important to understand that those 2 work in a loop. NLU is the ear. It is the capability that understands that when a customer says, "My bill is ridiculously high," they actually mean billing inquiry.
It deciphers the intent from the messiness of human speech.
Exactly, and self-service is the action.
Right. NLU is just listening.
Yep. Self-service is the doing. Once the system knows the intent is billing, the virtual agent can hit the database, retrieve the balance, and speak it back to the customer. It solves the problem without ever waking up a human agent.
So NLU identifies. Self-service executes.
That is the dynamic duo the exam is looking for.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.